2025 has proven to be a really strong year for gaming, and now it's time for me to go over my favorite games that I played in 2025. The rules for applicable games for this video will be 1. It must be a game that I have not played a decent amount of before. 2. I am not looking at remasters or DLCs. It has to be a pretty significantly new experience for me to consider it. And 3. Games from previous years, so not 2025, I will allow. As for how I rank the games, it's of course based on personal bias, so it's not always going to be close to what other people like. I'm not trying to say what is the best games of this year. I'm saying these are the games that were my personal favorites. Overall, I would say the main factor is how much fun I had, but I will consider other things like art, music, story, voice acting, game design, performance, and price point, but those are all skewed based on what I think. So don't take this as me saying your game sucks because I didn't like it as much as you guys. That's not how I view things. I'm just trying to talk about all the games I played and how I felt about them, and potentially convince you guys to try them out yourselves. Ultimately, you guys are the judge of how good a game is to you, and that's all that really matters. I'm just here to discuss games and have fun with it. So without further ado, let's go over each of the games, and I'll be doing it based on chronological release, so older games first, all the way to the game that is the most recent release. And then once I go through that, we'll go over my winner for this year. Factorio. First and foremost, it's not a new game. It came out in 2016, and I also play with the Space Sage DLC, so keep that in mind when I talk about this game. Factorio is a top-down strategy simulation game where you play as a character who crashed your spaceship onto a foreign planet. Your goal is to get off the planet, and to do that, you'll need to build a new ship. How? Well, first of all, you don't have much. You can mine around you with your pickaxe to get resources such as coal, copper, iron, wood, and so on. With those materials, you can start to build some items, drills, belt, inserters, basically a bunch of machinery that can help automate your collection of materials so you don't have to do it manually anymore. You can build furnaces to process materials into more useful products, and as the game progresses, you get to start to build out your factory. More technology and research allows you to make more useful items, and therefore the need to expand your factory. More items means more problems, and a lot of this game is essentially trying to fix the problems that arise from the need for more stuff. How do you make it better? How do you optimize it? How do you solve the need for something new? And it's a constant problem that never ends until you beat the game. Also, occasionally enemies will also try to murder you, since you might create some pollution and they don't like that. This game also supports multiplayer, so you can work together to build a massive factory, and there's a lot of satisfaction with building massive factories and solving difficult problems for optimization. And honestly, I do find the game entertaining. There are at times a lot of these problems you are solving feels more of a chore, and it's a necessary one, but it's more of satisfaction than I would say potentially entertainment. But different people like different things. Imagine doing a ridiculously hard Sudoku problem. And that's kind of what I feel like this game can be in a sense. I don't think this game is necessarily for everyone, but for the right person, this game can easily consume you if they grab you. Cracktorio, as they call it. So, all in all, if this game is the kind of games you like playing, especially if you like strategy or things that make you think hard or puzzle kind of games, this can be the game for you. But if that's not what you like, I would stay away from this. With all that hype coming for Silksong and not playing Hollow Knight myself, I figured it was time to figure out what all this hype was about. Hollow Knight is an indie Metroidvania game, and I figured it was a pretty good game, but I have some gripes with it. The stage, the art, the diverse enemies, the charm, Hollow Knight has a lot going for it, and I was really impressed by what a small team was able to create. The game itself isn't too hard. Yes, there are a few sections that quite annoyed me, but the minimap doesn't fill unless you go find a map guy and then buy the map. I just think this is an annoying mechanic, not fun. There are a large variety of areas to explore, and each have quite a bit of backtracking that you have to do, and there's a lot of memorization of said areas, and occasionally they block areas where you need certain locks to get through it. But man, is that really annoying to remember, and basically I just had to write notes, and I don't want to write notes when I'm playing a game. I'm also not a huge fan of games that just require you to do a lot of backtracking, but like, I lost it, I'm like, dang it, I have to spend 5 minutes getting back to that area, and I'm not doing that for fun, I'm doing it because I have to, and I feel like that's a waste of time. And a bit of the difficulty and frustration arises from the mystery of the game, as there's a lot of lack of explanation for a lot of things. They don't explain mechanics, they don't explain how to fight certain enemies. I don't need a game to spell it out for me, and that's fine, but some enemies are like, you can't beat them unless you only attack them a specific way or a certain area, or you can't get in this specific area until you have a specific mechanic, and I have no way of knowing, and they don't give you any hints, so how am I supposed to know without searching online? But I can't be the only one who got stuck like that. This just leaves me frustrated, and I'm not having fun when this is happening. Regardless, I eventually got over these annoyances, but I felt like I should mention this, because this game frustrated me the most out of all the games I played this year. Going back, it's like I wasn't really fond of a lot of those moments. The progression of the character was also a little slow at first, but eventually it does pick up, and when you do start picking up, then the game actually started getting fun. Empowering a weapon, changing charms, all those can change the way you can play, and the game felt a lot better. There's a lot going for this game, and if these kind of gripes that I have don't bother you, then this game could be insanely good for you. I'm just not super crazy about certain decisions they made, and some of it's just annoying, some of it's just like, well, how was I supposed to know that? And those kind of things build up here and there to mar the experience, but it's hard because I think, you know, if you look at the graphics, the designs of the characters, the stage, the music, the sounds, all this together is a very well polished, very solid game. There's a lot to do, there's a lot of areas to explore, there's a lot of diversity, and all that for not that expensive of a price for a game. I think this easily can be a fantastic game for so many people, and I don't want you to think that I think otherwise. This game is excellent, it deserves praise. It's just not my favorite because of a lot of the gripes that did personally mar my experience. But hopefully that's not the case for you. Deemo Reborn is very much like its predecessor Deemo, which was a mobile game focusing on playing the piano and solving puzzles. Reborn more or less takes the same game but brings adventure into 3D. So Deemo is very much into two parts. The core gameplay is the rhythm part of the game. You get to play piano, or rather you get to control a little girl who has Deemo, a mysterious tall pianist, play the piano for you. There's a wide variety of songs to choose from, with more you unlock over time, as well as, of course, there's DLC songs that you can buy. I bought them all on a bundle on sale. The gameplay is pretty simple. Press a note as it comes down the screen at the right time, with occasional hold notes and slide notes. Generally, you're playing piano songs, but there are occasionally some songs that are a bit different. Some have some vocals, some songs are really fast, some have synthesizers. Overall, there's quite a few songs to choose from. As for my personal favorites so far, I like Moon Halo, Winter, Fluffy Party, Sunset, and Beyond the Stratus. There are of course a lot of other songs beyond that, but those are my personal favorites. The other part of the game is the mystery of how to get you back home. You fell from the skies and now you're stuck in a tower. There's a tree that goes as you play the piano and help you unlock areas of the tower. Puzzles litter the tower, each of them being pretty reasonable, and they add up a nice break up from playing music. Complete the puzzles can unlock you more areas of the tower or unlock you more songs to play. The more you play, the more the tree grows and the closer you get to escaping this mysterious area. Deemo Reborn has excellent music selection that covers a wide variety of styles, but of course there's an emphasis on piano though. Puzzles are enjoyable and not too difficult, and this overall is a quite unique experience. If you like rhythm games and puzzles, this might be a game that hits both niches and might be the game for you. Pikmin 4 is the latest in this RTS-like series, and it was my first Pikmin game. You get to create a crewmate who lands on this mysterious land, you find plant-like creatures called Pikmin, and you get to use them to help solve puzzles or defeat enemies. There are quite a few types, each one with their own abilities, like red Pikmin are immune to fire, and blue can go underwater, and ice can freeze water. And you also get a ride Otachi, which I guess is kind of like a dog. There's a wide variety of areas you get to explore and get to bring items back to your ship. Overall, it's a cute and fun game. I don't really have that much to say about this game. It was fun, but nothing really blows me away. I enjoyed my time with it, but overall, it's fine. I think it's a decent game. Pikmin fans can go yell at me. I enjoyed my time playing this game, but this game doesn't do anything that the best games out there does. But it's still a fun time to play. You get some fun challenges. It's alright. Ys Nordics, or Ys 10, is the third Ys game I played, with 8 and 9 being the others. Ys 8 is still my favorite to this day, but Nordics does change it up quite a bit. There are two big differences in this game in my mind. First is the focus on naval combat. Nordics unsurprisingly focuses on the Nordic-like culture that lives off of the sea. There are a lot of islands, and you get to use your ship to travel around to islands or partake in naval combat. It's not that deep. You control the ship and shoot your cannons at enemies or towers with the occasional special rounds, and you can boost and ram into enemies. You also get to go around collecting items on the ship in the sea, and thank God there's fast travel and these wind boost sections, because this ship moves so slow in the early game. You get to travel around in your ship as well. You get to talk to NPCs for dialogue or story. And wow, imagine that, occasional voice acting.
They call you Adol.
This is not get some other games if you're wondering. You can buy items and upgrade weapons and armor for better stats as well. Overall, there's quite a bit to do on the ship, and the second main difference I would say is the combat. In previous games, you had more playable characters, but in this one, you only had 2. Honestly, I wish you had more. It's kind of lame, there's only 2, but whatever. The lore excuse is that Adol is bonded to Karja, and you cannot separate because magic and blah blah blah. So the way the combat works is that you can only switch in between 2, and since they're linked, you get to do some duo attacks where you both attack with your regular attacks, or you get extra powerful synergistic attacks, and you can also block as well to slightly change the combat. Beyond that, it's for the most part a standard Ys game. It has combat with many special attacks, and it's fun to play. There's nothing super incredible about this, and I do find this series underrated though. I think more people should give Ys a try, and especially if it's on sale, I think this is a worthwhile adventure. FF7 Rebirth is the second of the 3 main games for the FF7 remake. I played Remake plus Integrate, so of course I had to try Rebirth. In terms of raw value, I gotta say FF7 Rebirth is probably one of the best just out there. There is a lot of story, and these cutscenes are really high quality. There's many massive open areas, beautiful environments. There's just a lot of work put into this. However, I would say some of the content is not exactly the most interesting. So one of the main changes from Remake to Rebirth is that the areas are now open world concept. That is kind of how it was like in the older game, but now it truly feels like a lot of the open world games that you play. The areas are sizable, and there are many unique maps that you can travel to, so there's a lot of moderately sized open world areas. Each area is filled with a variety of side missions. You get open world collectibles and challenges, just like a bunch of other open world games. A lot, for the most part, are pretty copy and paste. And, you know, honestly, after a while, a lot of these start kind of feeling more like chores and not really that fun, as they're not exactly that unique. Don't get me wrong, I think this is a very good game, and you can just ignore a lot of these challenges if you don't want to do it, that's fine. I just felt compelled to do it because it was in my face, but you don't have to if you don't want to. FF7 is loaded with a lot of minigames too. They seem to really love minigames, and some of them are genuinely pretty fun. Some are less so, some are kind of simple and uninteresting, but the one I did appreciate the most is Queen's Blood. This is a whole card game inside of the game, and it has quite a bit of depth into it. I would recommend playing this. I think story-wise you are required to for a bit, but there's more challenges you can do beyond that. I found it fun, and I played that quite a bit. Otherwise, the combat is fun as usual. It's kind of what you expect. You just play with all the characters, and they each have their different styles. The story was very solid, and it was nice learning a lot of the backstory, since I did not play FF7 originally, so I'm pretty oblivious to what the whole story was supposed to be. To quickly summarize how I feel, I think this is a really strong game held up by its gameplay, story, and activities, but there's quite a bit of filler content, so when people talk about 100%ing it and all the hours into it, it's not all insane amount of content that's high quality. There's filler to get you up there, but it's better than not having that content at all. Some of you may not enjoy all that content, and you get less out of this game, but I'm sure there's some of you who enjoy all this extra content and probably wish even for more of that. For me personally, I just got worn out by it after a long time, and I did quite a bit of them, but dang it, I just couldn't get myself to do 100% it. I wanted, but I just gave up because it's just too much. But hey, I spent 90 hours on the game, so that's pretty dang good. Stellar Blade is quite the underrated game that I rarely see anyone talk about. Shift Up is a Korean studio best known for their mobile game Nikke, and this time they wanted to make a full standard console game. Stellar Blade, to simply put, is most like Nier from my playing experience. It's an action-focused RPG adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic world. You play as Eve, who is a soldier sent out to kill Nativas, which are alien-like creatures that try to destroy humanity on Earth. Her squad gets wiped out and she gets saved by Adam. Yes, this is very much Adam and Eve. Take a guess where those names came from. But anyways, she now scours the land with the guidance of Adam and the robot that he talks to. As for combat, it's like Nier. It's a bit Souls-light. You have your standard melee combat with a combination of parry and well-timed dodges, and you can use special moves to help you gain the advantage in combat. You just gotta make sure you recharge it based on dealing damage and so on. Eve can be customized as well as she can suit different playstyles. You can shoot with the drone with a limited ammo supply if you want to use that to gain advantage in certain fights. And the world is vast with a bunch of enemies of different types of combats and different styles. And honestly, at first, a lot of these simple combats I found quite challenging. There are a bunch of rest stops to help you up, make sure you get some healing, as well as the opportunity to upgrade Eve with certain different moves and other upgrades. There are of course many outfits to choose from, and yes, some of them go a little bit more in the sexy style routes if you like that. If you don't, you don't have to equip those. But I know this game got a lot of criticisms for that, and to be fair, Bayonetta and Nier kind of did this stuff too, so I don't see why it's so different and why this one should get more bashed from that. Overall, I had a blast playing this game. The bosses can be quite challenging and they kicked my butt for a while, but they are not so insanely hard that I felt like I couldn't beat it if I just did better. And I found them rewarding once I learned how to handle them. I think more people should get Stellar Blade a chance because I think what we got here is a pretty dang good game. R.E.P.O, or R.E.P.O, which stands for the Retrieve, Extract, Profit Organization, is a co-op horror-esque game focusing on you and up to 5 other people looking to collect valuables and sell stuff for a profit. You control a little robot and you walk around with your team looking for items. Some are smaller but offer less money, and some are bigger, offer a lot more money but a horrible pain to try to move. You need to reach your profit goal before you can leave. However, there are enemies lurking around that are waiting to end you, so you'll need to be careful and not make too much noise. Everybody has proximity chat, so if you stray too far away, you can't hear them and you may not know what happened to your friends. Potentially they died. Teamwork is the key, and sometimes it can help or hurt depending on how you do that. Of course, there are upgrades in the shop that help give you an edge if you want to make it so you have more health or move faster or can lift heavy items or get weapons to fight other people. I would say overall this is a fun time to play with friends, but always make sure to check your back. In terms of online play, when I play with randos, I did not have that great of a time. Maybe it was just my experience amongst many games, but maybe I just got bad luck. But I dealt with a lot of screaming kids, so I went to adult only lobbies, and a lot of people just end up leaving me the game, leaving me alone. Hopefully you guys have better experiences with that, but if you got friends that you trust, I think this is a good time. Monster Hunter Wilds is the next generation of Monster Hunter games. You get to play as a hunter with a group of up to 4 people and hunt down a large variety of massive monsters. Wilds adds a lot to the game. It makes the environment more alive with a lot more vegetation and wildlife roaming around, changing of the weather, and time to bring some realism and diversity to the worlds you travel to. And in fact, movement was even more fluid as you get to ride secrets, which made sharping pretty nice as you don't have to sit there anymore. I think Wilds is a good game that adds a lot, but it's marred by poor optimization and the lack of stuff to do. Don't get me wrong, I do like Wilds, and I'm not against playing it more. There are some monsters out there that I really like, such as the Lala Barina, which is like a large spider. We have R.E.P.O, which loves to snipe with its lightning beam of death, and also there's a Quimatris, which I call Nashville Chicken because it's a fire chicken, hot chicken. Now, the main annoyance for this game is performance. It just does not run that well, and timing is pretty dang important in this game. Yes, I don't have a most powerful PC, but this is not just me, it's everybody, and they still haven't fixed this even till this day. I had to live with 34 FPS max, where I'm usually was dealing with 20 or lower when things get rough, and I have to use the frame gen to get to these FPS numbers. But if I don't, the game runs like garbage, where it's literally a PowerPoint slide. And I don't like the idea of needing frame gen just to make it run the bare minimum, where I don't hate myself. And on top of that, it also makes the textures look very muddy and fuzzy, which it just doesn't look good. But despite all this time, they still haven't solved all these problems. But hey, they added a fender collab. Cool, I guess. All in all, Wilds is underwhelming. This game oozes with potential, but it doesn't really matter if the game doesn't run well. I'll likely come back in the future if they add like a DLC like they did with World. But my hopes for Capcom fixing the game has pretty much died. If you play Monster Hunter, it may or may not be better to play World instead. When you think of a masterpiece, what comes to mind? Well, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 may not be perfect, but this game does so many things right. Many love this game and others say it's overrated. Some say this revolutionizes games in general, but me personally I wouldn't say it goes that far. Expedition 33 all starts with a well-crafted world with thought-invoking story. Look at the scenery, the cutscenes. This is very well done. The world is beautiful, and you get to traverse all around it. Admittedly, it's not like an open world game like Breath of the Wild, but I would say this makes the game a lot more manageable while maintaining quality, because you can't really expect a small team to really put out something that big. I would just say the one thing I wish is I wish they had fast travel on this map. There are many areas, each with visual variety and enemy variety. Speaking of which, let's get into the combat. Expedition 33 is a turn-based strategy game. Some hate turn-based games and others see it as a dying trend. But Expedition just does more than just your turn and then my turn. A lot say this game implements brand new mechanics never before seen, but I've basically seen most of these mechanics in other games. But what makes it special is the combination of it all and how well it works together to make an enticing game. Your speed affects where you show up in the turn counter and how often. You control up to 3 characters, which you can swap out for other characters if you get access to them. And they can do regular basic attacks, which does minor damage, but gains an action point or AP. You can also use Free Shot, which uses an AP, but it doesn't consume your turn, and it can be used to weaken enemies if you hit their weak spot if they have it. Spells use a range of AP, from little to a lot, but it can also do a wide variety of things, where it can deal damage, heal, buff, debuff, and so much more. Spells can do essentially everything. On top of that, there's even more, but I'll leave that for you guys to figure out. No spoilers here. On top of that, you get of course change your equipment, such as your weapon, which affects the damage that you can deal, the damage type, and other bonus effects. Then there also is skills. You get to run 3 skills or pick those. Each Picto has their own effect, which greatly influences how the character plays. On top of that, you also get to use Luminas. Luminas are essentially that allows you to run Pictos without actually equipping it, because normally you're limited to 3. However, these cost Lumina points to run the extra Pictos more or less, and depending on which Picto you use to run in the Luna slots, it may cost more. So there is a balance to that, so you can't just run everything, but you can definitely run more than 3 and greatly influence how your character can be played. Each character is not just limited to just one individual role. We don't have a clear damage dealer, you don't have a clear healer, you don't have a clear support. Each character has a few very viable routes in my mind that you can play. More or less play the way you want, combine the characters you want, and you can make a very interesting team and play your way. And I would say out of all my friends, nobody has played the same way, and I just found that quite interesting and fun that there are a wide variety of builds you can do. Sure, you can go meta and figure out what's the best, but I don't find it as fun. Each enemy has their own strengths and weaknesses, they all attack differently, and that matters as you also get the ability to dodge or parry. Dodging lets you avoid the damage, while parrying is harder, but if you manage to parry all the attacks that the enemy does in a turn, not only do you take no damage, you get to reflect and get a free attack back on top of the enemy, meaning you get just a free bonus damage. And I think that is really cool to have, because it always makes you feel like you have a chance in a fight. As for the music, dear lord, the OST is fantastic. Can you believe this guy was found on SoundCloud? Lorian Testad, or however you say in French, crafted one of my favorite OSTs for games, period. A lot of the songs are just so epic, and they just do an excellent job of building the atmosphere and be very memorable. When I listen to OST, I listened to a lot of them, and I liked a lot of them. I think it's genuinely worth a listen to. And I would say probably the biggest feat of them all is that this game even make the French likable. That's a joke if you're wondering. As for complaints, because it's not a perfect game, I would say one thing, it wasn't the best optimized game. It was, it definitely ran fine. Don't get me wrong. I wish it was optimized more. I've seen other games do it better. But I don't think it's a huge sticking point. I wish the map had fast travel points to save time, as I mentioned before. A lot of times I'm running around, and I wish I could just fast travel to the opposite side of the map. I also wish the game did a little better job of warning the player if an enemy was way stronger than you. Sure, you could always potentially win certain fights if you can dodge like a god. I couldn't, and it was kind of like, well, how was I supposed to know this guy was way stronger than me? I also wouldn't mind the shop prices were a bit lower, as if you try to collect all the items in shops, you're going to have to farm for a long time, and that's pretty much for the most part from what my complaints are. All of them are relatively minor. I could probably come with more, but in the end, this game does so much things well, and there's not a whole lot of things I would complain about. So overall, Expedition 33 is a very well-rounded game, and does pretty much everything exceptionally well. I strongly suggest people to give it a try if you haven't. It's an experience that leaves one wanting more. So let's go over the very divisive Mario Kart World. First, the price, $80. That's too much. I personally got the bundle, so technically it was $50, but unless there's significant free content added later via updates, $80 is not a good price, and they still haven't done it, at least so far. I would say Mario Kart World is a good game, just not $80 good. The game has impressive visuals and runs well. The courses look gorgeous, like look at Rainbow Road. There's a lot of courses with so many unique ideas, like Boo Cinema. Honestly, there's a lot going for it. The karts are far more interesting than it was in 8. There's a lot more characters to play as well, with some of them it's fluff, but who doesn't want to drive as a cow or a penguin? There's also a lot of outfits as well, but what is this character selection screen? Can't you just group all the outfits into one character, and when you click on a character, it just opens the sub-menu? As for the main gimmick of this game, it's the open world part of this game. A lot of people say it's empty or useless. That's a bit of a stretch. The open world contains all the courses, and there's plenty of paths between. There's a lot of collectibles and P-Switch challenges to do, and some of them are pretty interesting. Well, what's the point? You don't really get anything for doing them. There's no store in the game, it's just you freely roam around, which I guess that's why they call it free roam. But I don't know. I mean, it's fun to drive around for a little bit and see how the courses connect and see hidden areas and explore them and drive through a big city, see the whole world come alive, but that doesn't last that long. Imagine if they added like a hide and seek mode or a story mode. Like, that's how you realize the potential for an open world game. It just doesn't have that. The game is fun. There are new tricks and knockout torque. That's fantastic. However, it just feels like there isn't just enough stuff in the game, or at least there's definitely not enough stuff for an $80 game. The foundation is good, but the game needs a little more content to justify the price. I like this game, I do, but it definitely left me disappointed because it did not reach its full potential, and that's the problem with Mario Kart World. Peak is a cooperative climb game with one goal: to get to the peak. You play as a climber and you get to play with up to 3 other friends. Your plane has crashed and you are on a deserted island. You need to launch a signal high up to escape the island. That's why you want to go to the peak. On your way there, you need to climb. However, there's many dangerous obstacles along the way. You can find food and tools to help you get there. You start at the beach, but as you find your way through, you might travel through a jungle or a snowy mountain. You have a limited amount of stamina, so of course you cannot climb for forever, and if that runs out, prepare to fall, potentially to your death. Of course, this game is all about climbing, so look for the best path to get up there, and it may not be obvious. Overall, it's a fun time to play with your friends as you work together to reach a peak, or if you want, you can play solo like I did here. It's simple, but for $8, honestly, it's a good time, and it doesn't cost you that much, so why not? If you got a group of friends and you like the idea of climbing, give this game a shot. Donkey Kong returns to a 3D platformer the first time since N64, and you know what? This was a pretty dang good game. You see these similarities with Super Mario Odyssey, which I guess makes sense. The same team made both games. The story, I don't know, whatever. I don't think they're ever big on story, but the gameplay is fantastic. There's a wide variety of unique biomes to traverse to, each with their own mechanics and challenges. Moving around DK is fun and fluid. There's many choices on how you want to get there if you want to get to a certain area, where it's sliding, climbing, jumping, and so on. Combat works pretty well, and heck, you can even have pulling attack too, especially if you want to have a second player. The game is pretty easy, but there is a lot to do throughout the world. You get to collect bananas, which allows you to power yourself up, which there was no way to power yourself up like in Odyssey. There's a lot of variety and types of challenges out there to get bananas. Some are kind of repetitive and some are annoying or uninteresting, but some of them I found pretty fun to do. Some of my personal favorites are the callback challenges. The ones go back to the 2D scroller, showing off what the OG DK was like. This is fantastic fan service. The game runs well, but occasionally there are some faint drops, but it's not that noticeable. But overall, I think Bananza is a great time, and I highly recommend giving this game a chance. Borderlands is back with Borderlands 4, and it's pretty good. Borderlands 3 was the best Borderlands game in my mind, but it definitely whiffed really hard on story. Gearbox showed me that Borderlands 4 can be amazing if they took the core gameplay of 3 but combined the writing of Borderlands 2. Borderlands 4 still to me has the best gameplay, and it adds so many features and quality life options for farming. Rocket launchers and grenades are now part of the ordnance slot, which now is a cooldown base instead of having ammo reserves, which tend to be kind of slow and infrequent, so generally means I just didn't use it that much. There is much more fast travel locations. The changing of cosmetics for characters, vehicles, and guns can be done via menu, and moving stuff to bank can also be done in menu. You don't have to go in person. Vehicles can be spawned with just a button, and rather looking for a station and running there on a big map. And there's also the hover pack and grapple to increase your movement options. It's the most fun I've had in pure combat. Characters each have 3 abilities with modifiers to change how they work, just like Borderlands 3, and overall it gives you a lot of options to play the way you want to play. As for story, it's better than 3, which of course admittedly does not mean that much. It's overall decent. The way the game works is that it's an open world game. The map is divided into 4 sectors, and each sector has their own villain, protagonist, unique biome, enemies, challenges, and quests. Each main villain has their own quirks, and they're far better than 3's villains, but they're never going to be as entertaining as Handsome Jack, which frankly is kind of almost an impossible task. The story is more serious and a tiny bit more grim, but of course there are fun moments too. It's a Borderlands game. I quite like a few of the side missions, with one of my favorites being the callback to the pre-sequel Slam and Jam guy and the Pokemon one where you catch guns. As for the gripes, the game is definitely not well optimized. It ran okay on my PC, which was around 30 to 40 FPS, which oddly enough didn't feel as bad than I expected when I was playing for whatever reason. And a lot of the hate for the game is about performance, which I don't fully disagree with that. The game should be optimized better. That's unfortunately a really hard ask for these days for whatever reason, but it's definitely something to be aware of. I also really don't like they don't have a minimap in this game. I just don't understand why they don't want that. It's just an enemy radar, and I want to keep pulling up my map to figure out where I'm going. In the end, I really do like this game, and I do recommend it. Just be aware of the performance issues. DLC is coming. They're adding 2 more characters, which was not the case in Borderlands 3 for whatever reason. And who knows about the end game? I haven't done a whole lot. Some are definitely saying they don't like it as much. So there's something to be aware of that. But at least for the base story and the early, mid to late game, but not the end game farming system, I like what I've seen so far. I don't think it's perfect. I think they could have done a little better in some areas. But I do like playing this game, and I enjoy for the game. And hopefully the future for this game is going to continue to make this game better. Battlefield 6 came at a time where Call of Duty continues to show their lack of ability to produce top quality games, as well as the use of AI in the games, but Battlefield 6 is a solid entry. It doesn't mean I have problems with it, because things like the UI, which I don't understand why Call of Duty and other games seem to adapt the Netflix style of menus. Menu modes are hidden way in the back and you gotta go search for it. It's just a pain, and I don't know what the advantage is. It just makes the whole menu cumbersome. And also, please clear these yellow dots in the menus, and especially loadouts. They keep coming back no matter how many times I clear, and it's really annoying. I don't need to be constantly reminded. Another thing I didn't really appreciate is the store and the Battle Royale coming in later, and now they're just basically begging for me to buy stuff in an overpriced monetization landscape, which it's annoying. Stop it. The challenges, that, oh boy, it's a big mess. Whoever made the challenge this game, I'm sorry, but I have to say it, you did a bad job. Some of the challenges were easy, a few were reasonable, some were grindy or time consuming, which I don't think it's the end of the world, but if the reward's good, I guess that's fine. And some that are just like straight up impossible. So one of them was what, I think 30 headshots in a single match. Are you insane? Some people don't even hit 30 kills. Now, I know they got patched later, but that still doesn't change the fact that a lot of these were really, really bad, and top the fact that some of these didn't even track progress, so it was even harder than it seemed in the first place. As for the game itself, it's pretty fun. I enjoyed that. Battlefield players seem to work with more teamwork than COD players do, but I don't know how many COD players are in Battlefield 6 and don't want to do teamwork. You still see a decent amount of teams that refuse to help. Maybe it's just incompetence, or maybe they're just not good enough, or they're new. That's understandable. But there are more people who do seem to help, which is nice. I mostly like playing support because I'm a sucker for reviving people, but I do dabble a bit in all the other classes. The game runs surprisingly alright on my computer, but there are times when the performance does affect my aim, which is unfortunate, but I also suck at aiming, so I don't know. In the end, I enjoyed my time with the game. Yes, there are gripes, but I'll keep playing it. I still keep playing to this day, and I'm having fun. And it's doing a good substitute for COD, which it's being silly right now. So overall, I like it. It's definitely not perfect. There's more work to need to be done. Some things are still not fixed, which it's been a few months, but hopefully it gets fixed at some point. But overall, it's been a solid entry. Pokémon Legends ZA is the second Legends game and the first new Pokémon game for Nintendo Switch 2, so I had some hope that they would really be able to take advantage of the new hardware. Previous games have run pretty poorly on the Switch, and that really annoyed me, but this game looked to be a little different. First, I'll let you know I did play the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. It runs smoothly at most times. It's not rare to experience a little frame drops, but it wasn't that bad. The graphics, Legends ZA, it's adequate in most areas. Kinda feels like PS3-ish era. You know, there's no N64 trees anymore, but there's also games that look way better on PS3. Areas where it tends to falter in terms of graphics, you know, look at any buildings, why are the walls as flat as paper, even they should have some dimensions to it, things extrude out. Is it because they're trying to save time, or because the game wouldn't run well enough if they made the section 3D, or is it just because they had to make it run good on Switch and they didn't want to put in the extra effort to make it look better on Switch 2 version? Either way, I don't think it's that good of a look. On top of that, if you go inside of a building and look through a window, what is this? Not only am I not in a forest, you know, I'm in the city. This looks disgusting. Come on, this looks so bad. As for the whole map, it's not that big. The area is kind of pretty dang small compared to any other open world game. I just wish there was more than just one city and, you know, a few small areas past that. There's also a lack of unique biomes where Pokemon can reside, because I guess you're in a city. I mean, I don't know what city has a bunch of forests and ice areas, but that's what they put in here. But why not a beach, or a volcano, or a mountain, or a desert? Plenty of the old Pokemon games, and they have all that. Since you limit yourself to just one city, the areas are limited in scope, and honestly, it's pretty bland. There isn't really a whole lot to remember about these wild zones, and the city itself is also kind of a generic. It's not... I was hoping to see more character throughout the city. It just felt kind of bland. There's only a few buildings that really stand out, and those are like hideouts or like this building in the center. Moving on to cosmetics, I wasn't crazy about the options to customize the character. Yes, there are a few options, but a lot of them are extremely generic. Why aren't there more clothing options that are Pokemon inspired? Yes, there are a few, but I wish there were more. As for the combat system, that's one of the unique things about this game. It's interesting. The attacks are cooldown based for the attacks, and I kind of like that, honestly. It encourages me to not just use big boy move, so you get to use that as much, and there are some dodging mechanics to it, but I don't know how good it really works. But it does force me to contemplate the moves I pick more than I used to. Not sure how this works on the competitive side. I'm not a competitive guy, but I just find the combat fast and fun. The music is honestly genuinely pretty dang good. I haven't been that bullish on new gen music, as it tries to go really hard into the electronic music style, but this one has genuinely a pleasant surprise. My favorite is Jacinte's theme. That one is generally one of my favorite songs from Pokemon, period. Such a nice mix of elegant jazz electronic feel that matches her character. And this is coming from me, who's a big Gen 3, Gen 4 guy, but honestly, this is a strong contender for one of my favorite games in terms of just music-wise. The cutscenes, well, there are a few out there, but there's not that much. But it is time for Pokemon to really consider voice acting. I know they never have had voice acting, but even Zelda has voice acting now. So what's your excuse? In fact, many other indie games do it. I just find it awkward when you watch some of these scenes. It's awkward. You're watching these characters move their mouths for minutes on end, and I don't hear any voices. It just looks like they forgot to put voices in there, but of course we know they didn't. They just didn't do anything. Whether if that's just save money or time, and that's your excuse, maybe it is, but I don't think that's a good excuse. And we know they got the ability and the power and the money to do it. They just don't do it, and it just looks worse as time goes on. Overall, I really did enjoy the game, but I know Pokemon can do so much better. However, this is the first time I'm starting to see Pokemon starting to hit their potential that these games have. Pokemon has a good foundation for a game, and maybe the next generation will show off its potential, but I won't hold my breath. I do genuinely recommend playing this game as long as the new battle style doesn't irk you. I genuinely had a lot of fun playing it, but I cannot in good faith give it a massive amount of praise. It does quite a bit right, but Pokemon is still massively behind many other the big games in terms of level design, open world exploration, the environments, the voice acting, which of course they have none, cutscenes, 3D models, map sizes. I can go on for a long time. Pokemon, if they spend a extra time and effort and money, which we all know they have, they can easily make one of the best Switch 2 games in not just a year, but of the Switch 2 lifespan. I want them to do better, and I know they can, but it's nice to see them starting to show some of that elements. It's coming such at a snail's pace, and it's a little irritating to see. This game is still fun. I had fun playing, and it's probably one of the games I had the most fun playing this year, despite a lot of its shortcomings. I think Pokemon fans should not keep defending Pokemon, because I know you guys deserve better, and I know they can do better. So let's hope for next time they will continue to show the potential and make something that competes with the big boys, because I know they can. Kirby Air Ride is back, and is better than ever with Kirby Air Riders. Kirby Air Ride was my personal favorite game on the GameCube, and yes, I did like it a little more than Melee. Sorry, not really sorry, but I never thought this niche gem would get remade, but Sakurai is so clutch. Kirby Air Riders is pretty much a straight up replacement of the original. It has essentially everything the original had, but it has a lot more to make the game feel a lot more complete, which was one of the big problems of Air Ride, and it's just overall more modern. So let's start with the first mode, Air Ride. This is a racing mode in the game. You compete in a race against others. You pick your character and vehicle and engage in a high-paced race where you get to attack each other or creatures on the path for a speed boost. The races are fast and chaotic. You get to suck up enemies nearby to gain an ability for a short time for an advantage. The stages are very detailed, and frankly they look really nice, and overall I think it's a decent mode to play. The next mode would be Top Ride. I was kind of surprised this was being remade. This is easily the least interesting mode, but I mean they made it better than it was before. This is a top-down racing mode where you go around short courses. It's quick, it's simple, it's basically a minigame mode. Just think of basically the Air Ride mode, except just in top-down view and much shorter. That's kind of the gist of it. City Trial is the quote-unquote main mode. You get to pick a character and you start with the base vehicle. It's a simple star, and you go up to 15 players at most if you want in the City Trial map, and your goal is to make yourself the best you can possibly do in a short time, with 5 minutes being the standard. It's kind of like a roguelike, but you know, this was done way back in the day before we had a bunch of the other roguelikes. You traverse the stage and you look to collect power-ups to increase your stats. You can get them from breaking boxes, or you can get attack items to help hinder the opponents around you and ruin their stats and improve yourself. Of course, there's occasional random events that happen to summon a boss, or it can summon a bunch of items. You never know, there's a lot of different ones out there. And you of course can also switch your vehicle. They are located all throughout the map, and there are many choices, each one having their own advantage and disadvantages. If you're lucky, you might even collect all the parts to get a legendary vehicle. At the end of the time, a random event is selected that you are to participate in. The event can be very applicable to the stats that you've upgraded, or maybe it is very much not. And that's kind of part of the fun. You don't know what event you will be able to get, and perhaps you might pick the wrong vehicle for that event. Events can vary from just gliding distances to hitting a dartboard, kill as many enemies as possible, or just straight up pure races. This is what made Kirby Air Ride so special back in the day, and there's just no other game that's quite like this, and I found it a blast to play. The last mode is brand new, and it's Road Trip. It's basically more of a true roguelike mode. You are on a road trip and you drive along a road. The road has 3 different paths that you can pick from, each one having a different event and a reward added. Win the event and you get an upgrade for a stat. Keep moving down the road and you'll slowly upgrade your stats or collect items and power-ups, and occasionally you can swap out vehicles and fight bosses. This is where the quote-unquote story happens. You get some cutscenes. Overall, it's a fun time, but it is kind of slow at the beginning. It takes a little while to get through, but I think it's fun and different, and I think it's a unique experience that definitely adds a new little twist to Kirby Air Riders. I would definitely recommend finishing this mode because there are some decent unlocks hidden behind this one. Past all these main modes, there's a bunch of extras, just like how it was in Smash. You get to browse through the music, or you get to customize the vehicles to the way you want it through a bunch of different visual effects and art. Like, who wouldn't want to drive on a GameCube, for example? A lot of this stuff is the stuff that Sakura seems to like to add, and it's kind of small stuff that really makes the game designs that much better, and it gives it that extra charm. I really like Kirby Air Riders. The logo sucks, but this game is able to keep the charm of the niche game that I loved as a kid, and now I got it again. It's a lot more accessible, and it's just overall much better. It's fun, it's wacky, and I love it. So, those were every game that I played this year, but before I revealed the winner, I made something special to celebrate my personal favorite games for this year. So, without further ado, enjoy. Before I give out my answer, I just want to give a big congratulations to all the devs who made all of these wonderful games this year, but of course there can only be one winner for this year. So my personal favorite game that I played in 2025 would be Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Expedition 33 is truly an exceptional game. It just does everything so well. It's just a complete package, and I think it was done by an indie studio is downright impressive, and I think it is absolutely a well-deserved one. As for the rest of the placings, if you're wondering, 6th place I had Bananza, 5th place goes to Pokémon Legends ZA, 4th place I had Kirby Air Riders, 3rd place goes to FF7 REBIRTH, and 2nd place goes to Stellar Blade. But congratulations to all this game this year. 2025 has been a fantastic year, and there's plenty of games this year that I haven't gone to yet, so I'll look forward to doing them in next year. 2026 may shape up to be another great year, so I'll look forward to that year. Let me know what your favorites were this year in the comments below, and thank you guys for watching, and hope to catch you guys in another video soon.